Man, have I got a video lined up for you. I have Brad Garlinghouse talking about the Trump effect for crypto. Also, we have more information around banks in Japan starting to use XRP, and it actually is a pretty big number. I've done some due diligence, and I want to show you some information on this. Also, things going on with Mexico and Ripple, stuff going on with A16Z and the CFTC, ETF approvals. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other stuff about the current market conditions, a lot of XRP stuff, a little bit of the market. So let's go ahead and start here.
Richard, Brad, maybe I'll come to you. We've heard a little bit already today about the Trump factor, but I think everyone here would be interested in your perspective in the context of this discussion around the regulatory landscape.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder whether you could just talk to us briefly about kind of what the full implications are of a transition to ostensibly a pro-crypto administration in the US.
Yeah. Well, look, I violently agree with something Richard said, which is, on one hand, the US GDP is about 22% of global GDP. So there's 78% that, in a lot of those jurisdictions have already been very pro-crypto. But I do also believe that the US has had an outsized impact and kind of just a negative influence, which has been super frustrating. And I think the Trump effect, I actually think is so far still underestimated. And now I always get nervous, and I heard somebody talking yesterday and they're like, expectations are very high. And when expectations are high, I think more about downside than upside. But I think when the largest economy in the world is, I think, going to shift significantly, and I think there is going to be a Trump effect domestically, but the pun intended ripple effect of that outside the United States, I think, is going to be significant also, where, it's just the US has an outsized influence. And look, I think we are continuing to see, with only 4 or 5 days left of this administration, that Gary Gensler has not been acting in good faith. It has been. And I was talking to some people.
So this clip was obviously like a few days before Trump took office, just to give you some context on this. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what we've seen in the crypto market over the last few weeks as well. Let me just have this clip finished.
The audience, and it would be nice to see some accountability at some point on some of these things. I don't think we will. I think people move on, and to some degree that's okay. We're going to be in a better place. But I think there's going to be renewed investment in the United States. I think you're going to see more, one of the key topics we're talking about is just unlocking the next 10 years when the largest economy in the world and the institutions there feel handcuffs off. The business for Ripple in the United States has been frozen for 4 years. They filed a lawsuit in December 2020. And for the last 4 years, our ability to do business in the United States in terms of our signing institutions to use our technologies, it's basically been locked out.
Right.
And that's going to change.
And am I right in thinking that Ripple is already pushing back into the US?
Yeah.
Pretty much as soon as the election result came in.
Yeah. We, beginning really in kind of the second half of 2020, most of our hiring was non-US. Last year, I think non-US hiring was like 78% of the company. Now, that's partly you follow where your customers are. Our business has 95% of our customers are non-US. I'm hopeful that, and I've publicly shared that in the 6 weeks after the election, we signed more contracts in the United States than we had in the previous 6 months. So you're seeing, that's even before they've taken office, right? And so I think as we start to see the people that Trump has appointed take seat, affect change, I think we may have underestimated how those headwinds that we've all experienced are going to shift to tailwinds. And I'm very optimistic about what's going to look.
Those headwinds, basically what he's been talking about the last 4 years under the Biden administration, right? Going basically headwind into it, where your wind is just pushing you back. You're not getting very far. Now the wind is coming towards your backside, tail end. So you're going to be able to, the wind's going to be able to push you. I think that's what he was kind of going for there. So I do think that there's going to be a huge positive change about crypto for institutional clients and these people in these types of caliber jobs. Obviously, being able to use crypto in banks in the United States is something that we've been, holding our breath waiting for. It does feel like that's going to start happening here. I do think you're going to start noticing the amount of value that's going to be transacted on the XRP ledger once this really does start pushing it up. And you do have other places of the world outside of the US that are even further than the US, right? They've passed regulations and laws. They've created a clear regulatory environment, and now banks in Japan are going to be taking advantage of Japan's forward-thinking looking on the crypto market and how DLT basically will help them, the Japanese government and Japanese banks move value for a lot cheaply, basically upgrading their entire financial ecosystem. Let me go ahead and play this for you really quickly. A lot of transactions in Japan are done with cash. And I think the reason maybe people in Japan don't use maybe digital wallets and things like that as much maybe is because they haven't really seen a huge shift in technology that, brings new people into using new technology. So I think that as Japan, welcomes these technologies, and as these technologies make it easier for everyday people to use, digital wallets and crypto wallets to pay for things, I think that will create a new adoption curve where millions and millions and millions of new people start using, something like XRP for trade. Let me go ahead and play this.
So there's over 1,600 cryptocurrencies today that use blockchain. So all of us have probably heard about Bitcoin, some of us about Ethereum. In Japan, almost every bank is starting to work with something called XRP, or you may know it as Ripple, and there's many others. So there's
Is he watching a video? Because this is a different background. So is he like, that's weird. Did anyone else notice that? He's wearing the same jacket, but where's the Rakuten board thing here? I don't see it. Okay, that's weird. I always pull up more information on what Japanese banks are like. How many? Let me just pull this up. How many banks are there in Japan? I always get the number wrong in my head. So let's just pull it up. So Japan has 61 regional banks. They have 36 regional and member banks and second association regional banks, and they have 5 city banks, right? Most of Japanese banks are going to be able to use Ripple and XRP into the future. And that's really, really exciting. I do think a large swath of them are preparing. Also, you have absolutely bullish news. You have a North American exchange to list XRP, driving billions into XRP. Obviously, the bigger exchanges that can come and start listing XRP again, the more value we will start to see transacted on that ecosystem. And so XRP to begin contracts trading tomorrow, February 14, 2025, under the approval of the CFTC, which is also a big thing. So the XRP crypto event contract, February 14th, which is going to be tomorrow. This video will come out on that day. And then you have the CFTC portal. The exchange intends to list XRP crypto event contract for trading. So that's a big deal for crypto.com. You also have RLUSD volume surpasses 100 million in a 24-hour period. Check this out, 24-hour period, over $115 million. And we are just getting started with this, guys. I'd imagine that before you know it, this will be $1 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, and it will just start taking off from there. And then you also have from Edward Frino, a Web3 bank in Mexico is about to incorporate Ripple's ODL for digital payments. It's called MXI. Built on the XRP ledger, works with Mexico's CNBV, and it's basically their SEC equivalent, to ensure regulatory compliance, ready to integrate Mexico's future CBDC systems. And so here is that system. It's Ripple documentation, of course, down here. And here is the payment flow. The bank account, credit or debit card goes into Ripple on-demand liquidity. And then deposit here, custodial, fiat, and crypto wallet. Here's the user, spend any balance. It says Iris Protocol DeFi Suite. Then you can withdraw, obviously, into some non-custodial Web3 crypto wallet. And then, of course, this is where the transaction goes out, bank account and on-demand liquidity. So really cool to see that as more systems advance and start bringing in blockchain technology. Who do you think is the first call that these central banks are making, right? Yes, we could say, hey, Sensei, it might be Quant or it might be R3 or something, but like Ripple is probably on more people's minds than I would say R3 or Quant is, right? Because whenever you're starting to talk about central bank digital currency, when Ripple's talking, they've released 6 or 7 of them. They're working with dozens others, right? Up to 30 different central banks around the world. They are the best technology provider, right? They're the most looked at technology provider for central bank digital currency, now stable coins, cross-border payments. I mean, they're hitting every single bucket here. All right, you have a CEO of Robinhood. He says, one of the things we have to do is operate our crypto platform to facilitate transactions and settlements between cash and crypto 24/7. Particularly on the weekends when banks are not usually open. Stablecoins solve that problem. Let me play this for you.
One of the things that we have to do to operate our crypto platform is facilitate transactions and settlements between cash and crypto 24/7, particularly on weekends when the banks are usually not open, and there's no way of transmitting dollars using banking rails on weekends. Stablecoins solve that problem because it's a 24/7 network that's running on software. And I think that just shows you just one of the advantages of crypto technology over the traditional financial system. One of the things that we have to...
Guys, listen, Robinhood just acquired Bitstamp. Bitstamp, you can use basically XRP and RLUSD to do these types of different settlements. And also they're going to be working with some of the biggest banks in the world on derivatives, which you can settle with XRP and RLUSD. So that's just, I think that's a powerhouse just building up right now. And I think a lot of people are not paying attention to that either. So XRP Drop says, this is huge. Trump taps A16Z crypto policy head to lead CFTC. Check this out.
President Trump picked former CFTC Commissioner Brian Quintenz to lead that agency. Quintenz shared the news on X this morning, saying the agency is in a good position to ensure the U.S. leads in blockchain tech and innovation. This pick marks yet another crypto-friendly pick by the president, as Quintenz currently heads policy for A16Z's crypto arm. Former chair Rostin Benham stepped down from the role last month on Inauguration Day, and the regulator is being led by Caroline Pham in the interim.
Guys, you have just really smart, educated crypto people going into the biggest jobs in the Trump administration. You also have the Trump administration's made up of more billionaires than any other administration in history. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for regular people, but something to take notice of. And then you also have, oh guys, if you've made it this far and you like the content, please hit like. It does help me out. I really appreciate you. And if you think that this video would be valuable to somebody else in your life, go ahead and send that over. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks. So Smoke Dog says, investing in XRP, investing to upgrade financial infrastructure documented. So you have digital finance, you have blockchain, you have AI, and then all of these different companies that intersects all of these different things. And so portfolio and investment strategy, our portfolio is invested in all three of these components of digital finance. Our focus is on the convergence of all of these technologies. Initially, blockchain infrastructure was focused as new rails needed to be built for natively digital finance. Over the recent years, the conveyance of blockchain and fintech has been expanding, with killer apps such as stablecoins gaining the market share. AI has started to play a larger role with investments into digital identity, decentralization, infrastructure, and compute serving as key areas where AI interacts with blockchain. You also have a closed door meeting happening today on the 13th here with the SEC, maybe to discuss approving XRP ETFs. Right now, we're looking at Grayscale, Bitwise, Canary, 21 shares, and Wisdom Tree. I'm also putting just a juicy video together about how much value this could actually mean for Ripple and XRP. So I just want to show this really quickly. There was a really big YouTuber, Andre Javik. He put out, could XRP realistically get to $100? And he put a really good video together. And I just want to play a little bit of it. I actually am making a video about his video on maybe some other things that I would have brought up, but he did a great job. I watched this thing yesterday. I was really bullish.
Ripple's integration isn't necessarily a replacement for Swift, but it's a step toward modernizing that system. And Ripple's on-demand liquidity, ODL, uses XRP as a bridge currency to make country-to-country payments faster and cheaper. And this is where things get really interesting. If XRP becomes a key player in the global payments market, its utility and demand could skyrocket because more banks and countries would want it. But it's also still very speculative, and we still need to see how it plays out. But we're going to see what happens as early as March 10th this year. This is a huge deal for XRP. Why? Because XRP is ISO 20022 compliant. Now, ISO 20022 is a global messaging standard for financial institutions. It's the language of the banks, and it's the backbone of the new financial system. In fact, it is mandated that all banks speak this language by March 10th this year. And
Okay, so we need to clarify this, okay? So maybe it's mandated, but I've talked to several banks and I've asked them about how they are going about upgrading to ISO 20022, and those banks had no clue what I was talking about, okay? I think that this is a date where some of the biggest banks will be on the ISO standard, but I think a lot of like smaller banks and regional credit unions and those types of things, I think this is still going to take years to come. I don't let a date ever, set in stone that this is going to happen on this date, because I've been in the XRP space for 5 years, and I've heard people, live and die on a date. The date comes and goes and nothing happens, right? I'm not saying that nothing's going to happen on March 10th, but I did pull up some extra information I'll be sharing in this other video that I'm making today. Just understand that don't get attached to the March 10th date. Some banks are expected to move during that time, but others will take months, if not years, to all get on the same standard.
XRP is one of a handful of cryptos that does. If XRP becomes integrated into this system, it could see massive adoption by banks and financial institutions.
First of all, ISO 20022 is a messaging standard, okay? It has nothing to do with XRP or any other cryptocurrency. You're basically moving, all of these different banks use different messaging standards around the world, and sometimes it can be confusing when you're sending money from A to B. So what they're trying to do is get everybody on the same standard, which is the ISO standard, ISO 20022. Now, crypto can be attached in the ISO 20022 messaging for instant settlement. That's something that can happen and that will happen to the scale we just don't know yet. So I just want to clarify that too.
So even capturing a small fraction of a $150 trillion market could be huge. Now, this is still early days and adoption takes time. There's a lot of moving parts, but the potential is there. And it's one of the biggest reasons why XRP has so many believers. Now let's talk about the XRP ledger and RLUSD, or Real USD, Ripple's stablecoin. The XRPL is Ripple's blockchain that can handle over 1,500 transactions per second with fees as low as $0.0002 per transaction. Compare that to Ethereum, which can handle about 30 transactions.
All right. So also too, it's not Ripple's blockchain, right? The XRP ledger was built by David Schwartz, Jed McCaleb, and Arthur Brito back in 2012. Ripple, the company, has built their banking technology on top of the XRP ledger. But if you ask Ripple, is this your blockchain? They're going to say, no, that's a great blockchain. We built out technologies for the XRP ledger. Our stablecoin is on the XRP ledger and on Ethereum, but it's not Ripple's. They're not going to say, hey, this is my blockchain, because the whole Ripple case was built around that, right?
A second, or Bitcoin, which handles about 7. XRPL also has a built-in decentralized exchange, which allows users to trade assets directly on the ledger. Now, some people speculate that this could tie in to Larry Fink's vision of the investment world of the future.
I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks. That will simplify things, make things easier, and it would save more money for more people. It would bring down the cost of ownership of stock and bonds. Those are the type of financial reforms we need.
Believe it or not, Ripple actually tokenized the first money market fund on the XRPL. And this is a huge deal because it shows a proof of concept that it's possible to put assets that are worth trillions of dollars on the blockchain effectively. Now, this is a can of worms that could be its own separate video, but long story short, imagine some of your favorite stocks trading on the blockchain 24/7 all the time without market closes. That is all transparent, instant. That has a huge total addressable market, what's called TAM. It's worth hundreds of trillions of dollars. That's where BlackRock sees the future of finance going, and that's what Ripple is trying to be a part of. But
it's not just BlackRock, guys. It's all the banks, right? And listen, if you missed his video, go to his channel and watch it. It's really good video. Also, you have like the state of the market right now in the crypto industry is not really great. I thought when you're looking at the general, market feel of what the market is like, people are just dumping money into some of the dumbest things, and like retail is just getting scammed out of millions and millions of dollars every single day in the crypto industry. And I think, I myself, I sometimes get distracted because I have community members and they're always talking about newer projects, and I myself get distracted with my time. And I just wanted to take a minute here. If you've made it this far, I really care about you in this market. Try to focus on what's still going to be here 5 or 10 years from now, right? The newer things that are built on hype, they're just going to fall by the wayside and they won't make it through the bear market. So just please be careful. And then we did talk about Brad Garlinghouse already. So guys, if you made it to the end, please hit like. I appreciate you. If you want to take your education to a step further, you could think about joining Cryptonaires. That's my community. There's a link down in the description. You can use code BULLRUN to get 50% off the first month, and I'll see you around the community. Aloha. Bye.